Hey everybody, welcome to Always Bored, Never Boring, and another Harry Potter miniatures adventure game review and unboxing, which probably nobody will watch. Today, I am going to be taking a look at the Weasley Twins expansion. So I have a bit of a weird relationship with the Harry Potter miniatures adventure game. I'm not a massive fan of the Harry Potter world, so the theme itself doesn't really appeal to me that strongly. I think a lot of the component quality is not very good. I find some of the miniatures quite fiddly and annoying to put together, and in the case of a recent unicorn that I bought and reviewed in a previous video, quite frustrating in terms of the amount of cleanup required in order to get it looking half decent ready to paint. On top of that, the rules are quite clunky, and in some cases I'm still not 100% sure exactly how things are supposed to play out, so I'm just winging it a little bit. And some of the play modes, like the cooperative mode or the solo mode, don't seem as fleshed out as they could be. So there's a lot of points against the game itself. However, there is something that I just find appealing about throwing down some wizards on the board and having a wizard's duel, and there are things about the game that I do like, particularly the fact that it's more about scoring objectives rather than killing your opponents, and it's actually possible to take a whole team of people who don't have any combat effectiveness at all, they don't have any combat spells or combat weapons, and still have a chance of winning by chasing down objectives instead. So there's stuff to like, and I think when the miniatures actually are assembled and cleaned up, they do look very nice indeed. So despite some misgivings and despite it not being my favourite game in the world, I have been hunting down some expansions. When I've been looking for expansions, I have looked for ones that are relatively cheap because I don't want to spend a lot of money on this game. I am looking for ones that open up the options of the game because the starter set for this game is quite restrictive, and I want some extra options for team building, for items, for adventures to go on. And finally, I'm looking for miniatures that I can use in other games as well. To that end, I've previously purchased the Troll expansion and the Unicorn expansion. Those expansions are adventure packs which have a new scenario in them, a magical creature that I can make use of in Rangers of Shallow Deep or Dungeons and Dragons, and some new cards. But this time I have purchased just a character pack. In this case, it is the Weasley Twins. From what I have seen and read of Harry Potter, which isn't a huge amount, I do quite like the Weasley Twins. I think they're quite fun. They're a fun idea. And I purchased this pack because I was able to pick it up for £6, but also I was able to ascertain that the characters themselves opened up some interesting options for me. But that's enough of that. Let's open the box. First, of course, you get resin miniatures for the twins, Fred and George. Which one is which? I'm not entirely sure. I think this one is Fred. They are, unlike most of the other miniatures I have for this game, single-piece casts, which is good because that minimises the amount of annoyance I have putting them together, cleaning them up. But even as single-piece kits, you still get certain things that you have to deal with. For example, I don't know how well that's going to come out on camera, but check out the underfill on his chin there. That's an annoying sort of thing that you have to deal with these resin miniatures. You have to get in there, clean all that out, so it doesn't look like he's got a weird fleshy protrusion under his chin. Other than that, looks like it's very little cleanup anywhere else, which is a good thing. Of course, not a particularly action stance going on here. It's not particularly dynamic, but it's a nice miniature. Lovely detailing on the trousers and things. This isn't a miniature that I can really get a lot of use out anywhere else, but it's a nice one. And here we have possibly George, who is clearly more action oriented than his sibling as he has his wand out. Again, a single piece, not a lot of cleanup, but we do have that fleshy protrusion under the chin to clean out, and a little bit of flashing around the hand there. But pretty clean, certainly compared to the Unicorn, which I had in a previous pack, which was very messy in terms of mold lines and flashing. This looks like it's going to clean up pretty quickly. And I think people will fall into one of two categories with miniatures like this. Some people will think that the stance is very boring and will want something a little bit more dynamic, but I'm okay with that. I think I'm okay with characters that have a more casual stance. Of course, you also get some bases. These are 30mm and have the Knight Model's standard paving effect molded into them. And of course, we have character cards. This is the character card for Fred Weasley, who will cost you 8 galleons if you want to add him to your team. He has a mastery of 2, a defense of 1, a cunning of 1 in light magic. His magic value is 9, his temper is 3, his courage is 3, and his wisdom is 2. His traits are Apprentice, Gryffindor, and Potioneer 2, and it is the Potioneer 2 trait that was particularly interesting to me, because the starter set for this game includes potions that go up to level 3. However, the rules state that each character is only allowed to take 1 potion of level 1. The Potioneer ability overrides that basic rule, and it states that this character and any other characters in his group can take potions that are up to the level specified, so in this case up to level 2. So while I'm still not getting access to those level 3 potions, this opens up some more options for giving my characters potions they wouldn't otherwise have had access to. And of course, I know that it is my game, and if I felt the need to, I could just ignore that rule and give whatever potions I want to whichever characters I want. But I like to try and play to the rules where possible, and this is just an option to open up that particular set of potions to me. The other interesting thing about Fred is he has a special spell that I haven't seen anywhere else. It is the Jelly Legs Jinx, which says target model receives the slow 3 effect. I don't have that anywhere else, and I don't think it's going to turn up anywhere else except for on this character card, so it's a way of accessing a new spell that I didn't have before. As you might expect from twins, George is very, very similar to his sibling. In fact, the only difference between these two characters is George doesn't get the Jelly Legs Jinx, he gets Bombarder, which again is a new spell that isn't in the starter set, so this was a way of opening up a new spell for me. And it is a combat spell that, if successful, inflicts 2 physical damage, so that's something that's going to do a little bit more damage than those stupefy spells that I have to throw around at the moment. So that's cool to have access to a more powerful spell. Speaking of spells, this set also comes with a new spell card, Apparition. I believe Apparition also appears in the starter set, so it's a bit of a shame that it's just a duplicate rather than a new spell, but as I have complained that they don't give you many duplicates of different cards that you might want to use loads of times, it's nice to have access to more copies of a spell so that you can put it on more characters. This one is for an immediate effect of moving a model up to 8 spaces, ignoring obstacles and treating difficult and impassable terrain as open terrain. It's a really good spell. It's quite difficult to pull off, but if you're chasing down objective markers around the board, this is a good one to have. The last card in the pack is a unique potion. It is the Garroting Gas. It has a range of 3 and it says target model may not perform advanced action in its next activation. It's a level 1 potion that costs 1 galleon to add it to your forces. And yeah, I've not seen that potion anywhere else. It's certainly not in the starter set. So again, this was a new card to me and a new option for my team building, which was nice. What is less nice is, again, just a little hint of the slight haphazardness of the way that this game has been constructed, the way that the components are made. You can see this Apparition spell has very rounded corners. This potion spell has much sharper corners. It doesn't really matter. These spell cards and potion cards are never going to be shuffled together, but they are very, very different shapes. And it's just, yeah, they've used a different die to cut this spell card compared to this potion card. And why would that even be a thing? It's just a weird minor thing, but it is indicative of the kind of quality control that I have been seeing throughout the starter set and also the expansions that I've picked up. Things that you wouldn't necessarily expect to see. And yeah, it's just telling that it feels a little bit haphazard at times, this game. But that is it. That is your lot. You get 2 very nice resin miniatures, you get 2 character cards, you get 1 potion card and 1 spell card, which is a duplicate from the starter set. Unlike the adventure packs, which I've previously shown on my channel, you don't get a new scenario with this one. It is just new characters to give you more building options when you are creating your team. And while it is a shame that I doubt I will be able to find a use for the miniatures in my other games due to the way they are dressed and posed, it's nice to have characters with those new spells and also access to a wider range of potions to what I have been using up to this point. And I got this expansion for a pretty decent price. It was less than £6, and that's what I paid for the Troll expansion and the Unicorn expansion before. So all told, at the moment I have spent £18 on expansions, and then I got the base game for £7, and then I've picked up a pack of sleeves for about £2, and I've used about £2 worth of Renedra bases to upgrade some of the components. So all told, I've got a pretty decent selection of stuff for not a huge outlay. I really wouldn't have been collecting this game at full price. I think the base game and the expansions are way overpriced at full retail price, but being able to pick these odds and ends up at good prices, it's worthwhile for me to create those extra options. How much more am I going to expand this game? Not a great deal, really. Not being massively in love with the Harry Potter universe, there's not a lot that I really want to chase down. I would like to pick up a Voldemort. I would like to get Bellatrix. I can particularly use that miniature in Rangers of Shadow Deep and Dungeons and Dragons as a witch character as well. I would like a Dementor, and I would also like Professor Lupin because I'm a big fan of werewolves. But I think that will probably do it for me for this game. This isn't something where I feel the need to purchase every expansion and have every option. I just want to create enough different ways to build teams and access different cards and have different types of spells that I can keep things interesting. But I feel I have already probably spoken for too long on this, so I'm going to wrap up. Thank you so much for listening. If you've enjoyed the video, please consider pressing the like button. If you've really enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing if you don't already do so. And hopefully, I'll see you all again very soon. Bye bye everyone. Bye bye.